I needed it to survive. Like, alcohol became water. I was having more alcohol than water.
Laura, I want to thank you for coming on. You're coming up on 2 years sober at the end of this month.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so much. June 20th.
And you live in West Palm Beach. You're right down the street.
I'm in Delray.
Delray.
Yeah.
Okay. You do a
Yes.
lot of your hanging out and work in West Palm too, right?
Yeah. I'm between West Palm, Boca, Delray all the
Okay.
time.
And
Yeah.
originally from Pittsburgh.
I'm originally from Pittsburgh, very small town. It's actually a village called the Village of Swickley. The population was like under 3,000,
Mm.
tiny town. And then I went to college in Boston. And then I was in New York City for over a decade.
You're a big Penguins fan, you were telling me.
I am. I'm a huge hockey nut. Grew up going to like every home game with my dad. Traveled to see them in the Stanley Cup.
Mm.
Went to Winter Classics. I wrote for a hockey blog for a while called Chicks Who Give a Puck. So
No way.
I'm a huge hockey fan. I wanted to work for the Penguins when I was growing up so bad. And my dad said something to me that really stuck with me. He was like, well, it's your biggest hobby is watching the games. So if you're working for them, you're going to be working during the games. And I was like, oh no.
That's a very good
I
perspective.
can't do that, right?
It's a good perspective, but one can argue if you have such a huge passion for it, going to work every day may not feel like work.
Exactly. But whatever. It was smart. It was smart of me to get out of Pittsburgh, go to
Mhm.
Boston, and then kind of keep growing from there. And New York was just like the next step.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go. So you grew up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Did you have siblings?
I did. I have 2 older sisters. My sister Katie, she's 4 years older than me. And my sister Christine, she's 6 years. So 3 girls.
Did you guys get along?
We did. Yeah. We had a very lucky childhood. My both sets of grandparents were like 10 minutes away from us. So we had my parents who were happily married, and we had both grandparents and 3 girls and in a small town. And since it was so small, like all of our friends were sort of like friends with each other too. And they still are to this day. So it was, yeah, I mean, we got along great. We had like some different interests, some sports, more school. But we lived in like a very charming house where, we all shared one bathroom. So we kind of had to get along.
Yeah, of course. 3 girls. I mean, we were 3 boys, me and my 2 brothers. So,
It's
and
a
it was
lot.
chaotic.
It was chaotic. I mean, our our fights growing up were like, who stole my shirt? And like, you're in the shower too long. You know what I mean?
Those were our fight. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. But then them being older than me, I looked up to them so much. But it also like forced me to grow up pretty quickly. Like I was in middle school when they were in high school. So I'd be hanging out with high school kids. From an educational standpoint, it was great. My sister Katie she's been a second grade teacher forever. And I was like, she always wanted to do that. And so I was sort of like her student from a very young age. So I was like doing math and doing homework at her level in our basement. We had this little schoolroom set up. But yeah, I think I like being the youngest, saw movies at the same age they did. Went to parties around similar age that they did,
Mhm.
just because I was the youngest one. So I was exposed to stuff earlier than they were.
Yeah, you were ahead of your age group.
For sure.
Essentially.
And my mom was a flight attendant for American Airlines for 40 years. And my dad was a lawyer in town. And so we were very like responsible as kids. Like
Mhm.
we did our laundry, we knew how to cook, we were self-sufficient. Because when my mom was home, she was so present. But then she would travel for a couple of days a week. So, and my dad was working. We had our grandparents. So it was like we learned how to take care of ourselves, which I'm so grateful for. I see some people today that like still don't do their own laundry in their
Mhm.
30s. And I'm like, I'm very grateful for that. We like grew to be adults very young.
Yeah. Did you or any of your sisters ever get in trouble to the point where your father, being a lawyer, had to bail one of you out?
I won't speak for them,
Okay.
but no, they didn't. No, they are not the troublemakers. I am for sure. I was just the rebel, the wild child,
Yeah.
the party girl in my town. And I, you know, it's funny. I got like my first underage at a Rascal Flatts concert. My parents and one of our family friends' parents, they got us a party bus because they didn't want to deal with driving us. And and that was sort of like my first trouble with the law. And I remember I wasn't drunk at all. I was just like, starting to drink. The cop came over, saw the Bacardi Raz, really classy, in my
How old were you?
hand. 15?
Yeah, that's definitely underage.
Yeah,
Yep.
14. Yeah, for
Well
sure
underage.
underage,
Yep.
14 or 15. And they pull me into like the little police RV that's in like the concert, big outdoor concert at the amphitheater. And they're like, we're calling your parents. They have to come get you. It's like 30, 45 minutes from my house. And they call my mom. And my mom hears me crying and she knows I love Rascal Flatts so much. And my mom just goes, can you just let her go? She was so excited for that concert. And they were like, uh, okay. Like the first time that they had like heard a parent probably be like, she was like, I'll deal with her later.
Yeah.
And I did, I got in trouble, but my parents they were lenient and trusting.
Mm-hmm.
And, we grew up in a very nice town and there wasn't a lot of like trouble. So, they always knew where we were. And, I definitely got in trouble for drinking, like the high school parties,
Mm-hmm.
getting busted. The summer between middle school and high school, I had some girls sleep over and we snuck out of the house and we went to a boy's house and we were all drinking all night. And one girl got really sick and we're like walking her back to my house. And I will never forget this image. We're on my street because everyone was sleeping at my house. And I see all the lights in my house on. And I was like, oh no. And then I saw police cars. So one of the parents, not my parents, but one of the parents called the police because we were missing. We didn't have cell phones at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little grounded, but
Yeah.
not really.
It sounds like your parents were reasonable. They understood. They disciplined you when they had to.
Yes.
So you had a good upbringing.
I had a great upbringing, having my grandparents close, having my parents were super involved in, like, all of our school activities.
Mm-hmm.
My dad taught or coached all of us soccer for years for my sisters and I, we golfed and swam with my grandparents. It was an amazing upbringing. My town was beautiful, beautiful small town outside of Pittsburgh, but it was very, like, keeping up with the Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that looking back, that had an impact on me of, like, constant comparisons and also always wanting more. Like, what car am I getting next? What outfit am I getting next? What vacation? And it was like but I realized, like, that was me and my alcoholism. Like, I remember as a kid, like, I had to have all the newest this is so embarrassing to say, but, like, the newest Lacoste polos before any other girl did.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just always had to have more and, like, better. And I remember, like, with my sisters who don't struggle with this, um, like, they could have, like, a couple chips, and I'd be the one, like, having the whole bag. Or, like, we go out for ice cream, and, like, they would order a scoop, and I'd want, like, 3 in a waffle cone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had, like, 1,000 Beanie Babies. Like, I always just needed more of everything, which eventually turned into more alcohol.
Right. So, okay, you graduate high school on time,
Yep.
and you did well in high school. I'm assuming
Yeah.
because you went to Northeastern.
I did. I was voted worst case of senioritis because I skipped a lot. Worst case of senioritis and most likely to join a sorority.
Okay.
I was like the party girl, and I was gonna go to College of Charleston. I had a scholarship, and then I realized then the rebellious side came out. I found out that I got voted most likely to join a sorority, and my brain is like College of Charleston sororities. I'll show them. I'm gonna go to Boston. So, like, that's kinda how I made my decision. But yeah, I mean, I was a good student
Mhm.
in high school. Um, I given that I skipped so much class senior year, with my with my good friend Becca, um, to graduate because we also skipped detention, they made us, like, run around the track and make up PE classes before graduation. So, yes, I was a good student, and I
Mhm.
that's the thing, I was always able to, like, ace the test. I was always able to land the job interview. Um, but it's like it was always just organized chaos.
Yeah.
Like, I was smart, but I was like,
The consistency was tough.
consistency is it's still so hard for me,
Yeah,
and
same.
I'm a rebel. Like, I like
Mhm.
doing if you tell me to, like, go left, I'll go right.
And
And
I'll
if
show you
yeah, and I'll show
that I'll
you,
get
and I'll
to
wave at you. Yeah, and I'm gonna show you that I can do it that
Yeah.
way, 100%.
Okay, so you graduate high school, you go away to Boston. What was
Yeah.
that like?
Boston was amazing. I went to Northeastern, which was right in the city. So, fake ID. I didn't have the sorority life there. It was from day one, we were out drinking downtown Boston, Faneuil Hall. Um, and still, I was a good student, studied economics and focused on urban economics, which led me to my career later. And, but at nights and on the weekends, it was the bar scene. And it was, suddenly I was in a city where things were open until 2 a.m. and things opened at noon. And my girlfriends and I, we had so much fun. But that's when, looking back, you don't know any of this at the time, right? In high school, I think I drank like everyone around me.
Mhm.
But it was a bit of a drinking town for sure. And then in college, it still felt like that. Like I was at the same speed as all of my girlfriends. But reflecting back, I definitely had more nights than them. I'm a blackout drinker. And a lot of blackouts, a lot of not knowing how I got home, a lot of them telling me, the next day, oh, we had to put you in an Uber. Do you remember what you said last night? Do you remember what you did last night? But I was in a long distance relationship all through college, and he was at George Washington in DC. So I held it together in college. I was like faithful to him. I was traveling back and forth to DC. He was traveling back and forth to Boston. And I joke, and we were together most of high school too, and a little after college. So it was a long relationship. And I joke that I was like high school and college for me, and a little after was like the married life. Like then
Mhm.
we got the apartment, the dog, whatever. And then it became like college Laura after. But yeah, I mean, Boston was just it was school and partying.
Yeah.
School and partying.
When did your relationship with alcohol, like in the moment in college, yeah, you had more nights where you don't remember
Yeah.
blacking out, etc. When did you start to realize in the moment that your relationship with alcohol was much different than everyone else's relationship
Yeah.
with alcohol? A lot of people who've done the hard work of getting sober still struggle with something that won't quit. Not a craving, but unwanted, disturbing thoughts that bring guilt and shame and keep coming back. For some people, that may be OCD. Real OCD isn't just about organizing, it can involve persistent, intrusive thoughts that feel completely out of character, followed by mental or physical behaviors you feel driven to repeat for relief. For people in recovery, OCD can go unrecognized for years because it may look like anxiety or feel like part of the recovery process, but it's treatable. NoCD is the world's leading provider for OCD treatment. Their licensed therapists specialize in ERP, or exposure and response prevention therapy, and provide live face-to-face virtual sessions plus support between sessions. NoCD is covered by insurance for over 138 million Americans. To book a free 15-minute call, visit nocd.com. That's NOCD.com.
Fast forward to I guess like 2018. So like after college, I went to New York where he was living. So that was the next step. And then when we split, I started going out a lot. I, worked in corporate real estate. So it was a lot of like client dinners, a lot of like multimillionaires and billionaires and parties and filming TV shows. And it was just a 24/7 party. And I was having so much fun in my 20s. And then I got in trouble a couple times with work. Um, like 2018, 2019, there were a few times where it'd be like a black tie event and I'd be pulled in the next day saying like, you, you know,
You were wasted.
it's 2 glasses of wine, Laura, not 10, and like, do you remember us calling you an Uber and not invite, and then I started like not getting invited to the client dinners.
Mm.
And I noticed I was my relationship was different, I started to everyone would go out, right? Work or friends. And they'd all go home. They were all done at midnight. Everyone would go home. I would go to Irish pubs in Manhattan, and it'd be usually me and 6 dudes over the age of 75 drinking till 4. And like and then me
Mhm.
in like my late 20s, early 30s, dressed up from the night out. And that's when I knew subconsciously like this is different. Like why am I drinking 3 drinks before a date? Why am I drinking a cocktail before I go meet my girlfriends for brunch? Why am I craving a glass of wine when I'm at lunch during work? And I knew that um that's why like I started googling like the am I an alcoholic? It's like okay, if you have to google that then, you know, chances
Chances
are.
are.
And I started reading books like The Naked Mind, and I started just like subconsciously like reflecting. I had popped into a few recovery meetings in New York during that time. Um, but when it really hit me was 2020 when COVID hit New York and I was living alone, and I'm such an extrovert, like even after those nights out with my girlfriends, I'd go to the bar and hang out with, with whoever.
75-year-olds, yeah.
Yeah, or the bartender and whatever. And when COVID hit and I was trapped in my apartment, um, in New York and everywhere where COVID was really bad, you kind of saw people go 2 directions. They went like the sourdough and workout at home route, or they went like the depression and isolation route. And that was where I went with alcohol. Um, my best girlfriends, my college girlfriends, who are still my best friends to date, started buying houses in New Jersey and Philadelphia, marriage, babies, progressing in their lives. And it was like Groundhog's Day. Every year was like just same shit, different year while they were all like moving forward. My career was advancing, but everything else in my personal life was stagnant. And when 2020 hit, that's when it really went south for me. My drinking hour went from 5 o'clock to, oh, well, I'm home by myself. I'm working from home, 3 o'clock, noon, 11 a.m. And then like my little town, my little Irish pubs in the Upper East Side, the bartender would text me, hey, come through the back door. And he'd be like the 6 regulars drinking in the bar. And New York started having like the to-go cocktails. And but I didn't deal well with the isolation. I didn't know how to pass the time because at that point in my life, I didn't know how to be alone and like with myself at home. And I think COVID made me realize that like I was always on the go. I was working like 10-hour days and then partying with clients or friends. I was home to sleep and shower. And when COVID hit, I didn't know how to hang out with Laura. Like I didn't know how to just be. Um And being alone in New York during that time was really hard. So instead of learning more about who I was at that time and taking on new hobbies, I just drank and I went on a couple solo trips and I did not spend those trips wisely. All the sightseeing that I wanted to do turned into bar hopping. It's like, why am I going to Jackson Hole to bar hop?
Yeah.
I could just bar hop outside my door,
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that happened. And so, COVID was March 2020. And that's when my drinking was always detrimental. My first AA meeting was with that underage in high school. So I'm sorry, my first 12-step recovery, my
That's
first
fine.
meeting
No, you're fine.
was at that point. And
Mhm.
throughout the years, I had thought about getting sober and I had tried and I'd get a couple weeks, I'd get a month, but I just couldn't keep it. And then during COVID, it was just around the clock and my parents were worried.
How did they know, though? How did they know something was up? Was it just less communication?
I
Was
think
it
it was more communication, but it was
Oh,
sloppy.
yeah. So you
It
were
was
calling them hammered.
Yeah, and
Okay.
oh, yeah. I mean, I was getting on work Zooms, hammered. I mean, there was one day, my coworker called me after a Zoom, and she was like, "Hey." I was like, "What's
Girl,
up?"
listen.
And she was like, "Just checking on you." And I was like, "I'm good," slurring my words. I mean, she knew me. We worked together. And she was like, "You've been wearing that gray sweatshirt and no makeup and your hair in that bun. And like you were wearing that on Monday. It's Thursday." I was like, "Why shower? I'm not leaving home," And so there was concern there. And then I think my parents, I mean, everything about New York on the news, there was death all around me. It was depressing. It's not what you live in New York for. You live in New York to explore the restaurants, the museums, the nightlife,
Mhm.
walk around, meet people. And so everything I loved about New York had been stripped. And working in real estate for real estate developers, everything was paused. So it was really, really hard. And I was working for a lobbying firm at the time that lobbied for pro development. And so we're like working with the mayor, we're like on calls with Eric Adams and others. And I'm just like, I'm on Zooms with city officials and the mayor and, city council and lawyers. And I'm like turning my video off and I'm not making sense. And somehow I still
Got
had that
by.
job. Like it
Yeah.
was because when I would snap too, like I'm the type of person who can do like 2 hours or 8 hours of work in like an hour. And like I'll do it, it'll be perfect. And then I'll be like, okay, I can escape.
Mm.
And so then my parents, they were worried. They could hear it, they know me. They could hear it in my voice. I didn't look good on FaceTime. And my mom was like, why don't you just come back to Pittsburgh? And so my friend Saga and I drove back to Pittsburgh and I rented a car, packed up my apartment. Bless her heart, because we get on the highway and I have a panic attack. And she has to drive the whole 7 hours to Pittsburgh. I didn't have a panic attack because I was nervous of driving. It's because of alcohol. I haven't had a panic attack in 2 years. And I just I couldn't drive. And because I had gone a few hours without drinking.
Mm.
And so I was like very unstable and having withdrawals and I couldn't drive. Um, we go home to Pittsburgh. She comes with me for the summer. I get a place downtown and I go to visit my sister Katie in Virginia. And we're on a walk and it's the end of the quarter. It was like June. Yeah, it was end of Q2
2020.
2020. And I see my phone light up from my company HR number. And I remember looking at her and I was like, I'm about to get fired. And she was like, what? I was like, I'm about to get fired. I know it. I'm about to get fired. And I pick up, we're on a walk, and they did. And what was amazing about getting fired is they were doing cuts every quarter.
Yeah.
She said, this has nothing to do with you. Your work is amazing. This is purely of what we need in staffing and cut. It's only because of COVID. We'll write you a recommendation. In my mind, I'm like, seriously? like, is that real? Like, they're actually going to write me? Like, so I never really had consequences in my drinking. And
Did that hurt your ego though? Even though it was a COVID related layoff, because there were great
yes.
workers out there
Yeah.
that got let go. The company I was at that shouldn't have gotten let go, but it was clearly because of COVID.
Yeah.
Was that a hit?
For sure. My ego is for sure a character defect. Like, I want to be the best at everything, even the worst things. Like, I want to be the best at
100%.
anything. I want to be number one. I want to, be the one who gets promoted, or the guy or the car, the apartment, everything. And I've, like, thankfully that's been changing. But at that point, yes. But also, I was like, I'm free. Now I don't have to worry about brushing my hair 5 minutes before that call. Now I don't have to worry about making sure behind me on Zoom doesn't have wine. So I felt relief that I could just be home in Pittsburgh with my family and do what I want. And then one of my old bosses calls me up and for a real estate firm, and he asked me to do consulting work for him during COVID. I was like, perfect. So I did. And then I ended up going back and working for them full time when I went back to New York. And so I was home for a year. It was like June or May 2020 until June or July 2021. And that's when that year that I was home, I could not hide it from my family anymore. I really unfortunately missed, some things with my nieces that I regret to this day. My parents would stop by my apartment to check on me. Not every day was like that, but there were waves, and it got progressively worse. I started hanging out with a little bit of the wrong crowd from my hometown, and the ones who never left, who just progressed there. And I didn't really meet new people, so that's kind of what I started to do. And one day, I was sleeping in the middle of the afternoon, and I think this was like April or May of 2021, and I hear a knock on the door, and my parents come in, and it's like 3 o'clock on a Wednesday, and I'm in bed. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I need a glass of wine." Like, I was like, "Mom, pour me wine." I'm like gonna get teared up thinking about it because I was in such a dark place. And my mom pours me a glass of wine, and I'm dry heaving in my bathroom of this apartment rental. My dad's like watching the news on volume like 200 in the living room. And my dad's got like 19 years sober, so he gets it.
No way.
Yeah, Thanksgiving will be 19 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he's amazing. So you know, he gets it. There's no judgment in my family, which is like, I think one of the best things about my upbringing is like, it was just a very safe place to be ourselves. So I didn't feel judged by my parents in that moment. They've seen me at worse times, to be honest.
Of course.
But I was in the bathroom, dry heaving, throwing up while sipping wine. And my mom was standing there, and I'll never forget this moment. She looked at me and she goes, "Honey, you're sick." She's like, "You're sick." And I was like, "I know, I'm throwing up." Like, "Yeah, I'm sick." She goes, "No." She was like, "We're not mad at you. Like, you're struggling with alcohol." And my dad's on the couch, and my mom starts tearing up, and I'm crying. And my dad's like, my dad's like a major jokester. My dad's like, "Get dressed. We're going to drop you off the loony bin." And I was like, not funny. Not funny at all. He's like, "Come on." He's like, "I heard there's a real great state facility nearby." And I was like, "Shut up." But that's just my parents, they're so loving, and their humor is a huge part of our lives. So, and I refused. I said no because I wasn't ready. And so I kept drinking. They sat with me. And then I said, all I'll do is go to like the walk-in clinic for an IV. And we did. My mom took me into that walk-in clinic, and my sister who lives in Virginia was home visiting with my nephew that weekend, and they had just arrived. And my mom, she fibbed for me. She said that something was going on in my apartment or whatever, but really she was sitting with me in the clinic, and I just remember her holding her hand and just saying, "I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. I want you to go see, my nephew. You can leave." And she was just like, "It's okay." And so it was a really comfortable environment to be struggling, but they you can't make anyone do what they're not ready for. And they knew that, and they tried, and then I did go to Detox in Pittsburgh, and it was one of those state facilities. Like, my parents were promising me, like, horseback riding. Like,
You know what? Good for them.
they did. They tricked me.
Good
And
for
then I saw
them.
the white van outside, and I was like, I don't think they pick you up in a white van for
Yeah, they do.
places
Go ahead,
like
honey.
that.
I would have been like, yep,
Exactly.
they
My
absolutely
dad's
do.
laughing. He's like, "Bye." I'm like,
Good for them.
screw you guys. I go into, like, basically jail
Yep,
in, like, a white gown
as they should have said.
with a roommate who was like snorting lines off of her arm
Oof.
while we're all getting checked in. And in my head, I'm like, "Oh my God, I better not be room with that girl." You know what? She was actually a very nice girl.
Yeah.
I hope she's doing well today. But I left there and
Fully detoxed.
fully detoxed. I got on Zoom meetings when I went back to my apartment. I met some girls who were back in New York, and I remember the day I put together 16 days. And some girls who have known for a while, who've been sober for a while, they have like 10 years now. Um, they were on the Zooms, and I just know them like through friends of friends. One married my friend from home, and they were like, "Oh my God, amazing." And I was so proud of 16 days. And then I was lying. Then I would go on the next night and I'd be drinking. And I couldn't string it together. But it all went back to not knowing I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, I didn't have a family. I didn't have a partner. I didn't have pets at the time. I wasn't really working. And I just, instead of like learning a new hobby, I just drank to pass the time. Like, I was just passing the time. I drank to pass out. I didn't go to sleep anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I passed out every night.
Well, it's funny because you don't have the partner, you don't have the family,
Yeah.
you don't have the XYZ, whatever.
Yeah.
You're left with yourself.
Yeah.
And it's being able, you know now, you get it now, of course.
Yeah.
But in sobriety, we learn, right? You have, let's just call it the pin cloud in the beginning. It's new, it's exciting. You string together a little bit of time, whatever. But then there comes a point in your sobriety where you're with yourself, and getting comfortable and sitting with yourself is going to make it or break it.
100%. And I was not ready then. And I wasn't ready at all, but I felt like I was getting there. So I went back to New York after a year sober. My sobriety date was officially July 26th of 2021. Obviously, it's no longer that. It was July 26th of 2021. And I met some amazing girls. I had a routine. I had, our brunch and our meetings and our activities and our workouts, and I was loving it. And that was July 26th. On September 3rd, I'm leaving a meeting. And is it okay if I cry? I don't want to.
No, you're good. And if you need
No, it's
tissues,
fine.
here, let me grab you.
No, I should be good. Hopefully I
Well, if you're not,
won't.
we'll just leave them right over.
So September 3rd, I'm downtown, Houston Street, busy, tons of bars.
Midnight meeting?
Oh, yeah.
That was the meeting you went to?
Yeah,
I know that meeting.
I love that meeting. Midnight, Perry Street, all that. So I'm leaving midnights. And it was like 8 o'clock or something. And my dad calls, or my sister called, one of the two. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to four-way call. My sister is my dad and I." And I was like, "Okay." And And, my dad says, my mom wasn't feeling well for a couple weeks, and they found masses and, you know, tumors in her colon. And it's clear as day. I was standing there outside the meeting, and there was a bar right next to it, and I just like crumbled on this dirty rat infested stoop. And I just froze. And I was in shock and denial and confusion. And, I've dealt with death, of course, but really all the death that I dealt with up until that point and sickness was like, oh, my grandparents getting older and things like that. And so I was just frozen in that moment. And I had about 6 weeks sobriety. And I looked at the bar and I thought, no fucking way am I going to drink while my mom's sick. Like, no way. So I called my friend Caroline, who lived in the West Village, really close. I walked over and I just sat with her for hours. Um, she had lost a parent and she was a sober woman. So she was someone who I could go to. And I stayed sober. I didn't drink that night. And I didn't drink the next day or the next day for like the next 10 months. And so that was early September. And I was in denial for like a few months of what was going on. I also think, and I don't really know this, but my sisters have said a couple things, or my dad, that my family kept a little bit of it from me after that phone call at risk that I would drink. But I think more of it was my mom knew that I had gotten sober and I had a routine and a plan in women in New York. And I think if I knew how bad it was, she knew I would have flown home and not left, and like what that could have meant for me. So she was just, even when she was sick, she was always thinking of others. Always. She's an angel of a woman. And so I was in denial for a few months, didn't know how to process. I'm Googling colon cancer, and in my head, I'm thinking like 3 to 5 years minimal. We're gonna get her the best treatment. Sh she's gonna be the one that it's different for, it's not gonna happen to us. And I went home a lot during that time period, before she passed, but I went home over Christmas. Her birthday is Christmas Day. So Christmas Day is her birthday, so Christmas in our family was always all about watching Christmas Vacation, of course, but birthday cake multiple times in the day, singing to her and birthday presents. And, ugh, I went home and I walked upstairs to her room, and, that's when it hit me. She was so skinny, and she was in bed in the afternoon, and, I just sat on the bed with her, and I just cried and said I was scared, and she was so strong and so resilient. She's like, "There's nothing to be afraid of. I'm good, honey. I feel okay." You know? And, I just sat with her, and she pulled out this bracelet, and, she was like, "Here, have this," and it's welded on me now. I haven't taken it off, and then there was, like, she was going through, like, gift cards on her nightstand, and she was like, "Oh, here, take this one," like a Nordstrom gift card. And I was like, "Why?" I was like, "I'm not taking your gift card. You'll use it." She was like, "Honey, I probably won't use it." I think that was her way of, like, subtly telling me, but I was still in denial. It's my mom. My mom was also my best friend. I love my sisters. I love my friends. I love my grandmothers, but she was, we spoke every day. She knew more about me than anyone ever has or ever will. I shared everything with her. I called her every day on my way to work. Um, she was just outside of a mother-daughter relationship. We just had such a deep friendship, and my sisters did with her as well. And we're so blessed for that, looking back. And so I go back And I fly back and forth a couple times and I stay sober. But that was my motivation. She was my higher power. I was like, I'm staying sober while she's sick. I don't know how long this is going to be. They don't give you a magic date, you know?
Mm.
And things start to get worse. And fast forward to April, and I'm in my friend's wedding in Philadelphia. And my mom she texts, she's like, have an amazing time. Um, you guys look beautiful. Tell them I say hi. Just always thinking, she never complained once when she was sick. She never complained up until her last day. Just a miracle. And I noticed that my family's all together when I'm in Philly. And I go to the wedding and I'm at the brunch the next morning and I get a call from my dad. And my dad's like, when's your flight back to New York? He's like, we're going to change that to Pittsburgh. And the same moment that was on Houston Street when I crumbled down, I just broke down to my two girlfriends and they consoled me. And I just knew that that was it. And so I flew home May 1st or April 30th, and my mom was in the hospital. And I didn't leave her side. She passed on May 11th. I did not leave her side for 11 days, except to, sleep or get a coffee. And those 11 days were the worst days of my life. When I got there, she was able to smile and hug me and talk a little bit. And I just remember her holding my sister and I's hand, crying. She just goes, I love you both so much. And my other sister and I gave her a manicure. And but then I watched her deteriorate to not being able to have the cracker, not being able to talk, not opening her eyes. And it was just this process of 11 days. And some of my family members would come and go. And I was just like, I'm here. I am not leaving her side. And playing voicemails from her friends who weren't there in Pittsburgh of memories, seeing my aunts and uncles fly in. I mean, it was just 11 days of heartbreak. And and the last thing that my mom said to me is, I was in her room with her, and all she wanted was for me to be sober. And I held her hand, and I read her a letter. And the last thing I said was, I promise to stay sober. And she looked at me and she held my hand and said, you better. And that was the last thing from my mom. And then I relapsed the day that she died. I just couldn't. I'm crying because I have a lot of guilt over that.
Mhm.
And that's something that the last 2 years I've really had to work on is I made that promise and then I broke it. But, my whole army behind me, my therapist, sponsor, everyone's like, what matters is that I was sober when she was sick.
Mhm.
What matters is that when she passed, she saw me on the right path and she saw that she was able to pass away with the peace and comfort that I was healthy at that time. She doesn't need to know that I relapsed, and what matters is that I was there for her when she was sick and that she got to see me on that path whenever she passed. But that day that my mom passed, I also got a phone call that one of my really close friends passed. Same morning. And he had left me a voicemail the night before. He was visiting New York. He lived in a different city. He was visiting New York, and my nickname's Lulu. And he was like, "Hey Lulu, I'm in New York. I know you're probably not here because you're with your mom, but if you are here, let's go out for drinks or whatever. And but just know I've been thinking about you and your mom a lot. I love you." He died that night. And so that day, May 11th, is just it was Mother's Day. And I was just like, fuck all of this. And I just drank. And I had no coping mechanism. And so when I thought that I bottomed in 2020 of like not leaving the house and embarrassing myself at work and missing family events, I started bottoming. I mean, every bottom's worse. Every day was worse and worse. So I just started drinking so heavily, and white wine does not cure grief.
No.
And it was the grief, the depression, and the alcohol were just this nightmare. And I went back to New York and I came back. We had our celebration of life in June, and I was able to stay sober for the funeral, and I was able to speak at her funeral. This poem, "Your mother is always with you," which is why I have her handwriting and her bracelet permanently on my arm. That she's always with you. It's just like it's really what gets me through every day. And then after the funeral, I got obliterated at the party. Um, Leave it to my family to have like an after party for a funeral, but I got obliterated and I went back to New York, and it was just all downhill from there. The second half of 2022 was just I was going to work drunk, somehow getting away with it. I was so depressed. I was so miserable. And then my grandmother passed away in early 2023. And every week, I was just losing more and more like purpose. I was like, what is the point? And I had the victim mentality of why me? Why us? Why our family? Why my mom? Why that friend? Um, and then suddenly, like three people in my life were gone. And I even though such an extrovert, I keep a very like tight knit of my core people. And three of those people were gone. And I'd been to so many funerals that year. And then 2023 was just more of the same, just awful. Hospitals, detoxes, losing jobs, getting called out at work, family worried, and at that point I was physically dependent. Like I couldn't go a few hours without drinking in 2023. It was and yeah, it was Xanax. It was alcohol and Xanax. So I was just numbing constantly. I was sleeping. If it were up to me, I'd be sleeping 20 hours a day. The fun loving Laura, that was the extrovert and most likely to join a sorority and the party girl, was gone. Um, Before 2022, I was the girl who was asked to be in weddings, asked to plan weddings, plan bachelorettes, host baby showers, babysit, plan vacations. Like I was like everyone's like go-to friend, even in my drinking, really. Um, until until then. Then I was the girl who maybe wasn't invited to the wedding anymore. Um, wasn't invited to that work dinner, not invited to that client dinner, certainly not asked to plan anything with responsibility. And and that hurt my ego too. And I knew why, but it contributed to me feeling like what's the point? I've lost so many people I love. Alcohol does not have the effect that it had on me anymore. Like my relationship with alcohol took a drastic 180 from good time out to isolation and depression.
You needed to survive.
I needed to survive. Like alcohol became water. Alcohol was what I was having more alcohol than water. And it was white wine. It's disgusting to think about. Like big cavet bottles of warm white wine. Disgusting. 20 like I can like thank God I'm like disgusted thinking about the taste. Thank God. And I needed it to survive. I needed it to have a conversation, to brush my teeth, to grocery shop, um, to do anything. And to do anything, I needed alcohol. And it's wild. Like, oh, I have to wash my face. I need a couple glasses of wine. Like, I could not function. I was physically dependent. And that was all of 2023. I start dating this guy. He's from Ireland and he partied like I did. And I was like, great. I was seeing this other guy who left me. Smart.
Because you were drinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In like middle to end of we had like gotten back together a couple times in 2022. And I kept telling him I was sober. I was lying, would promise. I wanted to get sober. I wanted to get sober for him. I wanted to get sober for my family, my nieces and nephew, my work, my dad, my sisters, myself. I wanted to get sober. I got to the point where I did not want to drink. I did not want to be walking into that liquor store. I did not want to be walking into the bar. I did not want to be drinking morning to night, but I could not stop. And I would just cry and pray and anything. And I would tell myself, I'm not drinking today. At 9 a.m. when I woke up, at 11 a.m., I'd be at the liquor store. I couldn't stop. It was impossible. And so I had become physically and mentally obsessed and dependent on alcohol at that point. And yeah, that guy, he kept giving me chances. And he was like, let's do couples therapy. And I showed up to couples therapy wasted. He was like, that ended. So I'm seeing this new guy. And,
Irish guy.
Yeah, the Irish guy. And he partied like I did. But we were also long distance for a while. He was in San Francisco when I was in New York. So I was like, great. So he didn't get the whole picture.
That's perfect for an alcoholic.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Yep.
Clean up before he goes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So he flies to Ireland over Christmas of 2023, and I am meeting him there a couple days later to meet his family, to have 2 weeks there. My my best friend, who's she's like a sister to me. So we grew up with 2 families that we did all of our travel with, our summers.
Mm-hmm.
And like their moms are like our moms, and they were like kids to my parents. And my oldest friend, my childhood friend, we were 2 weeks apart. There's baby pictures of us at 2 weeks old together in a tub. Our moms were best friends, our dads, our sisters are best friends. She and I were talking like just a couple of days before, and she's like, have an amazing time in Ireland. Like, great, love you. Sad I'm not coming home this year. She's like, sad, me too. And she had visited me a few weeks earlier. She's like, oh, I want to see you and I want to meet Paisley, the dog that I had got. I was like, okay. She did. I didn't think anything of it. Anyway, and I won't get into details of her story, but I'm on the flight to Ireland and I open Facebook, which I never do. Random. It's just like the runway is taking too long. I'm like, oh, Facebook. And I see a post. I see a post on my friend's wall from another girl, and it says, I can't believe you're gone. Like you were taken from us way too soon. And I think it's a prank. I think her Facebook got hacked. So I'm on the runway. I'm at JFK. I text my sister because my sister and her sister are best friends. I text my sister and I'm like, hey, my friend's Facebook got hacked. And I see her typing and go away and typing and go away. And I'm just like, I have this like pit in my stomach. Because at this point, I'm like, I've already given up. I'm done with life. I'm done with faith. I'm done with a God. I'm done with anything going right. Getting close to people. Like I'm done with, I was just like, out of what's the point? So sitting there, my sister's text comes through. And it says, I'm so sorry. She said, I'm so sorry. We didn't want you to find out this way. And I was just like, what? Like, what? And then my fucking plane takes off to Dublin. And so I'm left on this, 8-hour flight with this news. And and so it's my grandmother, my friend who died when my mom died, my mom, and then my longest best friend. I'm just done. And so at this point, I for a little while before she passed, I wasn't suicidal, but I didn't care. I just didn't care what happened.
Ideation.
Yeah,
Suicidal
100%.
ideation,
Like,
yeah.
I was just like, my mom's gone who loved me the most and my grandmother. Those are the two women who loved me the most. Would anyone even notice? Would anyone even care? At this point, my drinking is just a problem. I'm just a burden on my family and my friends. Maybe it'll be better for everyone if I just take enough Xanax and I drink and I'm not going to put a gun to my head. I'm not going to do anything like that, but maybe everyone will just be happy if they don't have to worry about me anymore. And when my friend passed, and I'm stuck on this flight to Ireland, and so I'm on this flight to Ireland, and but that's the thing. I mean, to these deaths, none of them made sense. Everyone was young and healthy, and my grandmother was old age, yes, but I felt like everyone was passing around me who didn't deserve to die. And I am the alcoholic causing problems, and like, why am I waking up every day? Why am I waking up every day when my friends and my mom who don't suffer with alcoholism, who are amazing people, who are getting up and going to work, like, they don't get to be here. So I felt the guilt. It's a weird feeling when you feel guilt with victimization, with hopelessness. I was so hopeless. I go to Ireland, that's a shit show.
All right, you're laughing, so I got it.
Go
Like,
for it.
what the fuck happened in Ireland?
So I go to Ireland. My boyfriend at the time meets me at the airport, and he doesn't know the news yet. And so the first thing he says to me, at this point he's concerned about my drinking because he's been in New York long enough. So he's like, "Hey, just before we get in the car with my parents, like, I just want to, try to be on good behavior this week." And I was like, "Molly just died." He was like, "What?" And I was like, "You have the nerve to say, like, how dare you comment on my drinking here? You have the nerve."
Yeah.
And it was hard. I mean, thankfully, it's Ireland. People drink. So we were out all the time. And I when I was there, Christmas, it's my mom's birthday. It's where I always spent with my grandmother. I'd always go home to Pittsburgh. My friend just died. And I'm like, I feel like I'm just living in like a fake reality. Like, I'm in a different continent than my sisters and my dad. I'm like, I had found out that my family knew that she had passed for a few days, but they didn't want to tell me because they were worried. They wanted to wait until I got to Ireland where I was like safe with my partner. So Ireland was just a drunken disaster. It was like a movie. Like, we were just like, it was a mess. But I was busy and I was staying in other people's houses. So I had to like hold it together a little bit. You're in the countryside of Ireland, so I can't like Uber my wine. I was limited, so to say. Get back to New York in 2024, fly back New Year's Day, 2024. From January 1st, 2024 to June 20th, 2024, my sobriety date. It is shocking I'm alive. The amount of detoxes I went to, the amount of times 911 was called. It's honestly shocking to me that I'm alive. I had given up all hope. I was not going outside. I was drinking around the clock while taking Xanax. I was so depressed. I was so alone. I was anything I believed in, God or faith or hope or perseverance or light at the end of the tunnel, anything like that, it was gone. And And I just kept saying, I remember I just kept sending my family text messages that say, I just want to be with mom. I just want to be with mom. And like these thoughts about death were really prevalent in my mind. And I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and it's funny now, but it was not funny at the time. This was like February or March. I'm sending this message. I just want to be with mom. My boyfriend's at work. I'm sitting at the bar that opens at 10 a.m., as my favorite bars do. I'm watching my Price is Right with my 80-year-old friends, drinking my mug of wine on a Monday or Tuesday with my laptop, pretending like I'm going to do some work or something. And 2 cops come in. And they're like, Laura? Is Laura Tomana here? I was like so angry at my family and my partner because I was sending suicidal messages. And I was angry because they loved and cared about me and did the right thing and called 911. But in the moment, you're like, how dare you? Now I'm like, thank you. They put me in the they put me in the ambulance.
How did they approach you? Did they come up to you and say, okay, like we want to just,
Yeah, they were like, are you okay? Are you going to hurt yourself?
yeah.
And I was like, no, I was just saying that. I don't mean it. And they were like, we have to take this seriously. You have to come with us. So I like chugged my drink. I asked for one to go. I was like, can I bring a glass? And they're like, I'm not kidding. Like when I thought about going, just the thought of having to go at that point in my life, 20 minutes without alcohol would bring on like the most major panic attack. So they put me in the ambulance and they arrest me. And I'm like, not arrest me. They put me in handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't deserve to be in handcuffs. Like, I'm not bothering anyone. And they're like, you're bothering you're saying suicidal comments, saying these thoughts. And I try to get up and like leave. And the guy just like gently pushes me down. And I was like, this is bullshit. And I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember being in the hospital and they make you, strip down and put the gown on. And my boyfriend had arrived by that point. And I just remember like being in the bed that they wheel you away in and like looking back at him and he's like in the hospital hallway. And I was like, fuck you. Like, those, like I'm driving away to like
Yeah.
the loony bin waving in a gown and he's in like his winter coat. I was so mad at why that guy stayed with me. I have no idea.
That was Mr. Ireland?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like,
He was looking out for you. Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
but I was pissed.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I get out of detox or whatever a few days later, and I go home, and he's like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "It's Dan's birthday party in the Lower East Side tonight." He's like, "You just got out of detox," and I was like, "Yeah, I feel great. Time to go again." And I did, and I was back there 3 days later, and that's what it was for me. Like it was to the point where I wasn't eating. And I wasn't drinking water. I was malnourished, and all I was doing was drinking. Then I thought it was a really good idea to leave New York. Broke up with him, left the job.
You broke up with him?
Shocking.
How
right?
dare you?
Know, shocking.
Okay, go
No,
ahead.
trust me. There's more details to that, but
No, I get
no,
it.
it was rocky, and that wasn't even on the relationship wasn't even on my mind. I was just like, I gotta leave.
He's in the way of...
Yeah, everyone's in the way of my drinking.
Yes.
My job, my doorman, my neighbors. Everyone just needs to leave me the hell alone. I'm gonna move to Miami.
You went to Miami?
To get sober, smart, right?
Oh my God.
So I moved to Miami with my dogs. And I got a job in real estate development. They hired me via Zoom meetings. They had no idea. They had no idea what was going on, but my reputation was good. Like I've been in Forbes, Wall Street Journal. I've been in Time. I've been in like all these publications, and my work track record is so strong.
Which
When
is
you
crazy, by the way, in
It's crazy.
alcoholism. I
Yeah.
did the same exact I was always moving up
Yes.
in full-blown opiate addiction.
It's crazy.
I don't know.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
but it's true. Like but that was also an excuse for me. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm doing fine. I was in the Wall Street Journal this weekend.
Justification.
Yeah. I can handle my alcohol. I was quoted in the New York Times last week.
You can't tell me shit.
Yeah, you can't tell me shit. What are you doing? Like I'm on the phone with the mayor. What are you doing? You can't tell me shit. And just
Mhm.
the ego, it's disgusting to think about. But I used that and I used my salary, my job title, my apartment, my work, resume as I can handle this.
Mhm.
I can handle it. So I moved to Miami, and that's what they knew of me. And I just didn't show up. I used excuses for weeks of, oh, my furniture is getting delivered. I have to be here for packages. I don't have a car yet. All these things. And really, it was March of 2024. I left cold New York. I'm on the 27th floor of this Miami apartment with a rooftop pool. And I'm like, this will cure my depression. Don't have to worry about anyone up there. I'm going to work from home. I'm just going to lay by the pool for a couple weeks and then I'll get it together.
Sounds amazing.
That was my plan.
How long did you string them along for?
I went to treatment. I went to detox about 6 weeks later. So like 6 weeks go by. I'm not showing up to work. And they're like, what the hell? What the hell? So that was mid-March. In May, sometime I went to detox. I don't remember that time how I got to detox. I think it may have been like my doorman doing a wellness check or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I get to detox and it was bad. When I was in Miami, I was not walking my dogs. And I love my dogs. And that's the thing about addiction is like I love all of these things and people in my life. But when you are so physically and mentally obsessed with a substance, it didn't matter. And like I said, like I didn't want to be drinking at that point. I wanted to walk my dogs. I wanted to go to work. I wanted to show up for my friends, for my family. I couldn't. I couldn't. And I wasn't walking them, empty bottles all over my apartment, wasn't taking out the trash. Lucky if I was like ever showering or brushing my teeth. It was really bad. And I remember waking up in detox and I don't even know where my dogs were at this point. I really don't know this time. And now I look back at it, I'm like, who? Like, it's all such a blur. They benzo you out when you get to detox. So after like 36 hours, I come to and I'm like, fuck no. Where are my dogs? Where's my phone? And it's a weekend. So I go into like the tax office and I was like, I'm leaving. And she was like, no, you're not. Like, it's a weekend. The manager's not here. Like, wait until Monday. And I was like, no, you can't keep me here. And she's like, we can. Like, medically advised. I was like, well, I'll AMA. And she kept telling me no. So I pushed her. I have never gotten physical, but I was so angry. I wasn't angry though. I wanted to go home and I wanted to drink. So I pushed her. I pushed this sweet little girl who's probably like 100 pounds. I grabbed the phone in the manager's office and I call 911. Like, what's your emergency? I'm like, I've been kidnapped. And they're like, you've been kidnapped? Where are you? And I'm like, Summer House Detox Facility. I was like, I've been kidnapped to detox. They're like, ma'am. So the tech at this point was like, calls her boss and they're like, just get her out. Give her fucking phone. She wants to go burn her life down. Fine. So they give me my phone. I call an Uber. I go back. And I keep doing more of the same, more of the same.
Wait, hold on. Is the girl, the 100-pound girl, she's fine?
She's fine.
You shoved her?
Shoved her.
Okay.
Minimal injuries.
Okay, 911. They're like, okay, yeah, lady, go back to detox and just hang up on you. They don't end up coming, do they?
They don't come to me because they
right.
realize I wasn't actually kidnapped. I was in a
Okay.
detox facility.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but I'm like, they kidnapped me, whatever.
Yeah, I know. I've been in that type of position, yes.
So angry. And so that's when it got really scary for me. I went back and that's when like the suicidal thoughts started to come, and at this point I was angry at the detox facility. I was angry at my family. I was angry at the guy. Angry at the job for expecting me to be at work. I was angry at everyone, and I was grieving. I mean, I was grieving so heavily. Like I felt like there was 1,000-pound brick in my like heart at all time. Like it was physical grieving pain. And so I was just drinking and crying and drinking and crying. And then I started to lose feeling in my legs. And turns out I had neuropathy, and I didn't realize that at the time. And every time I tried to stand up, I couldn't. And every time I tried to walk, I couldn't. And so at this point, I'm on this 27th floor, beautiful Miami apartment overlooking the ocean, ordering wine, and army crawling to the door, sliding my passport under. And that was my life for 3 weeks. Not able to walk, army crawling to the door, living in my bathroom naked, just living in my bathroom with my wine, the toilet, sitting on the ground with my dogs. And that was my life for weeks. Army crawling, bathroom, drink, try to pick up whatever broken glass from that day so that my dogs didn't step on it, buckets around of bile. And I was so sick. And people were calling my family and my friends were calling me like crazy because I think my funeral was being planned by a few people at that point. And I emailed my family my bank account login, my like social security number without like explanation. I just emailed because when my friends had passed, I remember how hard it was for their families to like get into their email, their bank accounts. So I was like, you know what? I'm I'm gonna do everyone a favor. Psycho. If I don't wake up tomorrow, they'll at least have my Gmail password. They'll have my phone password. They'll have my bank accounts. I'll make it easy for them, And I thought I was doing like the right thing and the nice thing, and I was just prepared to die at that point. I would be on my balcony and I would see people down, dressed up, having fun, and I'm sitting because I couldn't stand at this point with my bottle. And this is the extrovert girl in high school and college and all her 20s, the party girl in New York with a million friends, sitting alone, sad, depressed, wasted 24/7. And I was just like, how did I get here? This isn't me. Like, and if this is me and I can't get out of it, and I don't want life if this is the new version of Laura. I don't want life if I'm going to be depressed and drinking forever. I don't want life if I can't if I can't walk.
Yeah.
I never thought I was going to be able to walk again. So I called the suicide helpline, and I said, I don't want to die. And I just remember this woman, Jennifer, picked up. And I said, I don't want to die, but I don't know what to do. I'm so sad. I'm so miserable. I don't know what to live for. I don't understand the point. She said, how old are you? And I said, I'm 35. And she said, is anyone with you? And I said, no. She said, I'm not supposed to do this, but I have a daughter and you're reminding me of her and I'm about to be off work. Can I just come over? And I was like, if you call the police and you bring the police in here, I'm jumping off this balcony. I was like, if I hear a policeman outside my door, I swear to God, I'm running off the balcony. She goes, I won't. She said, I'm not telling anyone at work. Can I just come over? I've lost a lot of people to this. I know you're sad on the phone. I said I lost my mom and my friends, and she had two. She must have been like early 50s, maybe. I just said, sure, sure. Don't really remember. I passed out again. I hear a knock on my door. The doorman must have let her in. Who knows? Probably like, wellness check. I hear a knock on my door and I open it and she's like, hi, I'm Jennifer with her 8-year-old daughter. The shame that I felt of the state of my apartment, because I picture it. I wasn't taking my dogs out. It wasn't pretty. I wasn't taking care of myself. The shame and embarrassment that I felt was just like, oh, it was awful. She was a godsend. She goes, honey, don't worry about it. She said, let's go get you washed up. Her daughter started cleaning up my living room, took my dogs on a walk. And I was like, what are you guys doing? She's like, I've never done this before. She was like, I just felt a calling to ask you if I could come over. I said, this isn't like a part of your job. She goes, no, I'd probably get fired for this, for like not telling authorities, whatever. And she was like, no, I'd probably get fired for this. And her daughter's cleaning my apartment, walking my dogs. And she just listens to me. And I fall into this woman's arms who I don't know. And I'm bawling my eyes out. And I just said, I just kept saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Your daughter shouldn't see this. I'm so sorry. And she was just hugging me. And she said, it's okay. It's okay. You're struggling. You're sick. I was like, this isn't me. She's like, oh, I know. Like, and she's like, are you willing to go to detox? I said, I'm scared. I said, I don't know how I'm gonna live a life without alcohol. How am I gonna live a life without alcohol? Because all I've ever known was alcohol is a fun thing for me, and then a really depressive thing for me. But it was my coping mechanism through good and bad. And and then I started to like not listen to her, and I wasn't gonna go, and she left, and I called her a few days later, and I was even worse. I mean, at this point, I was on my deathbed for sure. And this time, she came over with the police, and I'm in my bedroom, and this was my last drink. I'm in my bedroom, no idea if it was 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. 2 cops, her, and a firefighter. I don't know. And I come to, and they're standing over me. And they're nice, but they're firm. And they're like, "What do you want to do here?" And I was like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'm done. I'm done." And they said, "We got a bed for you at Summer House," where I went and called the police. I was like, "I can't go back there." They're like, "Yeah, you can. We talked to them. They want you back." And I said no. I said no, and then this cop looks at me and he goes, "Okay, ma'am, you have two choices. You can stay here and refuse to go, but I've got to take your dogs away from you if you do that because you're not taking care of them. Or you can go. We promise you we are going to put them somewhere safe And when you're out, you're going to be reunited with your dogs again. I just said, okay. I looked at my dogs and I love them. I just love them to death. And that's why I always say my Paisley is like my guardian angel and Chubby, but we're really Paisley. And I just looked at her and I said, okay. So I went to Detox, apologized to the girl.
I was going to ask you, did you ever make amends to her? Okay,
I
good.
tried. I was like, how can I make amends to you? She was like, what you can do is not speak to me the whole time you're here. And I was like, got it. Do you guys still have that couscous? I was like, oh, mental. And so I go to Detox. And while I'm in Detox, I lose the job. And at this point, there's nothing left for me to leave for. And I had no more excuses. I had no more, oh, I have to get home to the dogs. Oh, I have to go to work. I didn't have anything anymore. And I knew that my dogs were being well taken care of, and I had run out of reasons I couldn't go to rehab. I had never been to rehab before. And my sisters and my dad, my friends, everyone's being so supportive. And I'm in Detox, and it took them 5 days to get a urine sample with IVs the whole time. They could not get a drop of urine out of me. Like I was full liver shutting down, full shutdown of my kidneys, my liver. I was able to like start walking again. And then they got a sample, but usually with alcohol, you're out in like 5 days. I was there for like 12. I was pissed. I kept seeing people like come and go. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to leave.
But that's why you couldn't walk, because your liver
Everything.
was shutting down.
And like, and it's a thing of like your brain connected to your nerves.
Yeah.
Everything. And these guys come from a treatment center here in Delray. And they like interview people and meet people. And my family wants to send me to Costa Rica. They're like, we found this place in Costa Rica. It's great. I love Costa Rica. And they, in their mind, they were doing the right thing. They're like, Laura loves Costa Rica. She's going to love it. But then it's like, what am I going to do after that?
Mm-hmm.
And so these people come and they pitch to me Beachcomber here in Delray. And they talk to my dad and the Detox. And they all agree like that's going to be the best. And they were like, she can have a life here. Like there's recovery in South Florida, keep her here in Delray area. She's going to meet people. She can start a beautiful life here. And so that's what I did. And again, this Jennifer woman from the helpline, her friend took my dogs for 30 days. I was so scared to go to rehab. But at that point, thank God, I knew I didn't want to die. I knew I didn't want to die. Honestly, mostly because I didn't think my family could deal with any more hurt. Like that was my biggest motivation was like we've already lost our mom, grandmother, my dad's mom. I was like I don't want to be another death.
Add on to it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to add on to it. And so it was like big part was like I don't want to die, but I don't know how to live. I'm out of my career. I'm out of the drinking. Like what do I do? And so I had tried to get sober those few years before and it wasn't working. I had no program, which is why I relapsed. And I went to treatment in the first week. I was like, how am I going to get through 30 days? I was so bored. Just reading, no TV, everything. And then they started bringing some people in to speak with us who I could relate to, who had similar stories, similar feelings, similar backgrounds. And that's when I really started to listen. And I was like, I started to see hope in them. And I went from this feeling of completely hopeless to starting to get little slivers of hope of like, oh, maybe there is a way. Maybe there is a way to live. They're smiling. They're introducing themselves to me. They're, the people who worked at the treatment center were all in recovery and they're happy and they have their lives together and they're showing me pictures of their pets and their spouses and their kids. And I started to do yoga at the beach during treatment and sound bowls. And I was like, maybe there's hope. And thank God, since June 20th, June 20th of 2024, I have not touched a single drop of alcohol. And life today is, well, one, I can walk again. But I teach fitness for a living, which is crazy.
You got into that when you got sober?
Yeah, so I realized I took a breather when I left treatment, and fitness has always been important to me. And I left. I'm working a program. I've got some time, so I'm getting certified in like yoga and Pilates and all this other stuff. And I start teaching and I start taking more classes and more certifications. And for the first year, I was just teaching classes. I was like teaching classes, not worried about money. I was just learning how to get each day without a drink. And the first year was like one foot in front of the other. Just go to bed at night without that drink. And then I started to have fun. I started meeting guys and girls are my friends today. I started having fun. I started traveling again, seeing my family, and I did not go back to corporate real estate. Not because anything's wrong with it, but for me, I had to not go back to anything that was part of that life.
It was triggering.
Yeah. And like not to anyone or anything's fault, but I knew like I haven't been to Pittsburgh since, and I love Pittsburgh and I'm going to get the courage this year to go. Um but I protected my sobriety that first year like no other, because once I got those doctor's reports, once I got, I heard my therapist in treatment was like, I've never had a case this hard. And I'm thinking like, I'm a young girl. What do you mean? Like you're seeing these like crazy people, but it doesn't matter. Alcohol doesn't discriminate at all. And I've learned that the hard way. And I just knew, I know to this day, I don't have another comeback. Like it has been multi years of trying to get sober and so many relapses and so many white chips. And I believe in my gut that if I went back out, I would, one, die very quickly and I wouldn't come back. And I think that's just because this time around I have just latched on to hope, and I've latched on to amazing people in my life. Like everyone who has been in my life that I have met since um everyone that I've met from July, August 2024 until today, like I wouldn't be sober without them. I'm so grateful, and they're the people who I want to surround myself with. And we have fun. Like, I went to Paris with someone last year from the program. I've done, a bunch of little trips. My girlfriends and I and guy friends all rented, a yacht on Memorial Day. We go dancing, we go to dinners, we have beach days. And my life today is so full of hope and gratitude. Um, I work in fitness full time, and that's just like a reminder. Like I'm so grateful to be alive. I am so grateful. I did not fall asleep and not wake up one of those nights. Like I think about it daily, daily. And I'll have moments where like I go to Sunrise on the weekends where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I was about to give all this up. I was about to lose all of this. And like I was in I was in Dunkin' Donuts the other day. And these moments happen to me all the time. I'm 2 years sober. And I was in Dunkin' Donuts and I was walking out the door and I was like, I just ordered a coffee sober. Like, but those things happen.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm
That-
at the grocery store sober. I'm pumping gas sober.
yeah, I still get those thoughts. I know.
It's wild.
Mhm.
And I'm having a deep conversation sober. I'm watching a movie. I'm actually watching the movie. Like
Yeah.
I'm running around with my dogs. It's wild. And the people that have entered my life down here since August of 2024 until today, like I love each of them so deeply. Because we just relate, like we relate on a level that no one else will understand. Like the
Mm.
bond and the chemistry is just instantly there, but like we thrive off of each other's hope and lifestyles. Like being able to teach fitness full time. And I'm asked to teach events in West Palm and Boca and Delray for like 500 people. 2 years ago today, I couldn't walk. It's mind blowing. Like I I taught an event at like a nightclub the other week at like 11 a.m. and I'm dancing in the bar with the DJ teaching Pilates. And I'm like, this is my life. Like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, this would have been fun, Laura, drinking on the bar at 11 o'clock at night, partying.
Mhm.
4 or 5 years ago, I wasn't seeing the inside of any of these places. And I just have moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, like this, I'm living again. And I finally feel, I got sober at 35. I finally feel like I'm living the life I was supposed to live. I I had a lot of physical things in New York, you know, but I was miserable. Whether I wanted to see it or not, and whether I wanted to believe it or not, I wasn't stopping in those late night bars by myself because I was happy. There's no way. I was miserable. And here, I live where people vacation and I work in health and wellness and I get to talk to people in recovery and I get to help other women. And I'm surrounded by sober men and women. And I have some friends in my life who are not really down here, more like my friends from up north. But um I just expect I expect things to happen now. Life is not perfect.
Mhm.
The last few months have been, as we were kind of talking about before, the last few months have been very challenging, um, mentally, emotionally, and they've been really challenging. And they've really pushed me to reflect and grow and heal and learn how I can be a better person. I have learned in the last 2 years that picking up a drink is not going to fix anything. A drink for me is not going to fix grief, heartbreak, self worth, self respect, healing, depression. A drink isn't my tool anymore. And I I talk to some women about this all the time, and I say it because it's true, and I repeat this, but it's for me it's true. Every day is like an even. Every day is like a 7. I'm like, I'll take it because I was living in just like 0 to 11s for a while and then zeros. And every day has been like a 7. And then like things will happen that'll like knock it to a 2, but it's okay. And then like really good things will happen that'll take it to an 11. And that's okay too because I don't latch on anymore to like this feeling's going to last forever. And I've learned that when I'm sober, I can control my emotions. Usually, I can control my emotions. I can be respectful to myself, to other people. I can handle things that come my way with dignity. But most importantly, like my hopelessness, utter hopelessness turned into a little bit of hope, which turned into a lot of hope, which then turned into having faith that I could have a sober life, that I didn't, and be happy, that I didn't need alcohol to have fun or romantic connection or a friendship or travel or go watch a sporting event. I didn't need alcohol for any of those things anymore. And now I'm just like living in straight gratitude. Like from the big things of like, I'm so glad I didn't die when I probably should have, to like, I write a gratitude list every night, and it can be something as small as like, one of my clients told me that she feels confident again. A woman who takes my classes said she felt amazing going wedding dress shopping. And it's like, it's not really about me anymore. Like, yesterday was my 3-year anniversary with my dog. On my gratitude list was like seeing her smile. I'm happy that I'm healthy. I'm happy that I've really worked on like my self-worth, my self-respect, my ego, um, my righteousness. And, there's a million things I need to work on. But I'm so grateful that I now have tools that I want to work on myself. Like, I want to work on myself. I want to stay sober. I want to live this life sober. And the people who've come into my life are all doing the same. And like, I don't have room. I don't have room in my life anymore for people who aren't growing. And so it's just like, it's raised the bar. Like the conversations I have, the way I'm spending my time, like everyone in my life, like if you're not working on yourself and you're not growing, I'm not interested. And yeah, life today is just it's it sounds so cliche. And you know what I'm gonna say. But like it truly is like beyond my wildest dreams. Like
Mhm.
I wake up in my apartment with my dogs at the beach. I get to go to work. I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work. I get to be around my friends. I get to have responsibility. I get to help other women. Um, I get to drive my car. Like, I took so much for granted. And then I took so much for granted my whole life. And then when those deaths happened, it just it turned that like taking things for granted, like, what's the point? And I've gone from what's the point of living without all of this to they would want to see me live. For one, they want me to be happy. They want me to be thriving. They want me to be sober. And I still have moments of sadness and grief all the time, every day. Every day I think of them and I have heartbreak, but I put one foot in front of the other and I go live an abundant life without alcohol. Um, because that's what they would want, but most importantly, it's what I want.
You touched on life on life's terms, and I think it's very important for the listeners, the
Yeah.
viewers, the people who are thinking about taking that leap of faith and getting sober. We can get through if you are sober and you do what you got to do, i.e., build a sober community, you're
Mhm.
connected, spiritually, your life enriches significantly,
Yeah.
you're able to get through anything. You said some days are twos,
Yeah.
but you can get through those days. If you are sober and you have that as a base,
Mhm.
you can get through anything. I've
Yeah.
never gone through, I have never unsuccessfully not gotten through something sober.
Yeah.
and I want to tie a loose end.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to say it in the interview, but I am very sorry for your mother, your friends, your grandmother. You have been through a lot. And I
Thank
think
you.
that is the most amount of deaths one person has gone through on this podcast as a guest. So
Yeah.
I'm incredibly sorry for those losses. And your mother, I know you talked about that day you had
Yeah.
picked up a
Don't
drink.
make me cry.
No. She's smiling right now.
Yeah,
She
she
sees
is.
this. This is what she's actively seeing this.
I know, it's crazy.
She doesn't it wasn't the last
Yeah.
drink that that day that she had passed. She's seeing this
Yeah.
and she is seeing you thrive. It's much more than a drink right now.
Oh, yeah, and no, and she is, and it's it was a lot of death in a short period of time, and being unprepared, but with the tools that I have in recovery and the the sober community around me and just the faith of, like, not everything happens for a reason, because I don't believe in that, but you can pull reason out of everything. And who knows why certain people die at different times than others? Maybe it's preventing them from being much more sick down the road. Um, I say it like to girlfriends if they go through if someone dumps them, like redirection, rejections, redirection, like these horrible things that can happen. You can you gotta take reason out of them. And for a lot of things for me, especially in this past year of sobriety, it's been emotional growth. The first year was just about hanging on. In the last few months, I've just been focusing on what is my part in things that aren't going my way?
Mhm.
And like how can I prepare myself to be the best version of myself for me and others right now so that when life oh, I haven't looked at my phone for 2 hours. We could both have an emergency on our phones right now. Let's hope that we don't, but like I feel prepared now that I can handle those without a drink because I have the tools, because I have the self knowledge of knowing a drink isn't going to fix anything. It's going to give me 100 more problems than the one problem I have. And leaning into a sober community and having gratitude and having hope. Like, I'm so sad about all of my losses, but I am so fucking grateful that I had a best friend for 35 years. Who can say that? That my mom was so present in my life and she was my best friend. Not many people can say that. Like I got to have those relationships well into my 30s who got to grow up down, down the road from their grandparents. Like there's so much to be grateful for. And once I let go of the victim card, the comparison card, the insecurity, the ego card, and I started leaning into gratitude and acceptance and self-reflection, my life has changed completely.
How did you overcome so for me, the self-reflecting, there was so
Mhm.
much fear that delayed.
Oh,
So, I mean,
yeah.
listen, you're coming up on 2 years sober. You accomplished so many more things than I did in my first 2 years. But
No.
no, you've accomplished a lot. And you're like, I learned emotion. And I'm like, wow, I just kind of
No, I'm
learned.
still learning how to
I
handle my
learned how to
emotions.
do that last year at 7 years sober. Wow.
We're getting
No,
there.
but how were you able to overcome the fear of self-reflection? And then also back to what we were saying before, you were unable, as I was as well, to sit with ourselves in active addiction
Yeah.
and so quick to go for a drink. How are you able to really look at yourself, be aware, practice acceptance? How are you
Mhm.
able to really get to a place where you were able to do that and sit still?
Whew. Yeah, I mean, it amazes me. On my gratitude list almost every night, I'm like, I'm sitting at home. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. But I man, I did a deep dive into all my resentments, relationships, and I'm not just talking romantically. That's included.
Mhm.
Relationships, friends, family, colleagues, romantically. And I was able to notice patterns within myself of what we got to in the beginning, like wanting to be perfect and wanting to be liked and loved by everybody. And that's it's impossible, right?
It's impossible.
Impossible. And I know that, and I haven't been that since high school. I had the reputation. A lot of parents didn't like me. I've been not liked and liked and loved and not loved by people my whole life, as have we all. And I I have women in my life, my support team and my therapist who for years I surrounded myself with people who would co-sign my bullshit, who would let me play victim, who would, put a crown on my head at all times, who were like, "Oh, they suck, you're great, they're wrong, you weren't wrong," because that was comfortable and I didn't have to look at anything. And look, like I said, like year 1 was just like surviving. In the last few months, and honestly, specifically, really with coming up on 2 years, this May and June and a little bit of April, like the last 6 to 8 weeks, I have been I'm not doing anything but like going to work and like self-reflection. And I'm not really socializing that much. I'm not dating. I'm not distracting myself with anything right now except where can Laura grow? And how I'm doing that is looking back on things that have hurt me and seeing my part, which is really hard to do sometimes. Um, and then seeing, just seeing where I strive to be a certain woman. I want to be a woman of like dignity and respect and loyalty and grace. And I'm looking back on moments where I wasn't. And why is that? And what was triggering that? Was it someone else triggering it? Was it what was going on with me? What was going on? And I'm working on it by, yeah, a lot of that self reflection, but just remembering like what matters and what doesn't, and not shaming myself. Like I've made some major mistakes that I have guilt and shame about, and forgiving myself. Difference between forgiving myself and just forgetting it ever happened.
Mhm.
Forgiveness and change means truly recognizing it was wrong and making a decision to never behave that way again.
Mhm.
So there's a few things that I've had to look at in the last, few months where I'm like, that was wrong. And not to say, oh yeah, that was wrong, go about my life, repeat it in 6 months, repeat it in a year, repeat it, whatever. I'd be like, that's wrong because it didn't line up with this way that I want to live my life, this way of who I want to be as a woman. And this is what I'm going to do to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Mm.
And that can go from anything to personal stuff to relationship stuff to life decisions to ways of thinking. And for me, it's really just taking a pause and living in gratitude. And look, it can sound scary to people going into recovery thinking, oh my God, I have to look at all my mistakes. I have to
No.
look at that's not what
Nope.
it is.
Nope.
Not at all.
Mm-mm.
It's the opportunity now. Like it's not opening up Pandora's box of our past. It is learning from our mistakes and the opportunity to be the version of ourselves that we were always meant to be. Alcohol and drugs strip us of the version that we were meant to be. I had someone say to me, maybe it was a year ago, they're like, that wasn't me. I was doing that because I was in active addiction. And in my mind, I was like, bullshit. Don't use addiction as an excuse for behavior. And that's where I think a really fine line is. Addiction is not an excuse to lie, steal, cheat, whatever, hurt, murder, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's not an excuse, but we have to have the forgiveness and the grace on ourselves and other people that it's not our true mind. We're not thinking clearly.
It's distorted.
It's distorted. It's delusion. Like we're living in a brain that's completely distorted and irrational thinking, and logic is out the window, and our emotions are enhanced. What we think would be dislike is now hate. What we think is crush is now the most in love I've ever been. What we think is that sucks is this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. Complete distortion. So looking at things and going into it, recognizing like this is not a shame process of all I've done wrong. This is an opportunity to be the Laura that I was raised to be that girl that before all this happened was asked to be a bridesmaid, a maid of honor, to plan a baby shower, to babysit my friends' kids, to plan a trip. Like this is the opportunity to get back to being that girl and then some. And I forget your second question.
I forget my second
I think
question
that was
too.
kind of it.
Well,
Let's sit with myself.
Yeah. Well, you answered it.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, so you came to this realization, let's say 8 weeks ago, that, well, it's believe it or not. No, you're saying when you actually were like, I recognize it and I'm going to change
this. There were like a few pivotal moments in the last few weeks where I'm like, ugh.
Right. But this was in the making for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because you said you started surrounding yourself with people, excuse me, and aligning yourself with people who are looking to better themselves.
Yes.
Once you start to do that, you start to change.
Yep.
And yeah, getting sober is daunting because of the guilt, the shame, whatever it is. But it's so, you need to remove the poison from your life. That being drugs, alcohol, whatever your addiction is.
Yeah.
Once you do that, and then you want to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
I'm very tough at holding myself accountable, and you were aware enough to know that you needed the accountability in your life, and you did so by surrounding yourself with the people who are going to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Those who are bettering themselves on a daily basis. And when you do that, and again, once you get sober, I mean, it's not easy work, but it's easier to do when you're sober.
Oh, yeah.
Because you want to become that better person. You become more aware.
Right.
When you surrounded yourself with those people, then you will start to make those adjustments in your life.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. It's not simple, but it is simple. Looking at it right now, how we just put it,
right.
It's very logical. It's like, okay, I want to be that person. I should probably surround myself with people who are doing the things that I want.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like it's like in my life, like we are sending each other inspirational quotes. We are working out together. We are going, people are enhancing their, more than anything else, emotional maturity. I do not surround myself with liars, thieves, cheaters. I am surrounding myself with people who are enhancing their recovery, who are waking up early, who are like eating well, who are reading something positive for their lives, who are helping other people. And like it's I mean, you are who you're around, right? And in the last 2 years, I've met a lot of people down here, and I've had to, some of those friendships didn't last because I know, like, I don't think I have another chance. So I am viewing this round of my sobriety as life or death because I truly believe it is. And I'm not going to risk that. That comes down to my work environment, the way I spend my free time, and the people who are around me. And I'm so lucky that the people in my life are growing and they want to better themselves. And I think in the last few weeks I've realized like I was sort of at like a standstill with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few things have happened where I've had to like catapult myself into like, all right, Laura, be better. Let's do better. Let's reflect. How can we learn from this? How can we grow? How can you be better to yourself and to others? And since I've taken some time more recently diving back in, because I was kind of like stagnant for a few months, I'm just like right back into like, how can I be better? And I don't know. It's such an easier, softer way to live. I don't have to.
It's manageable
It's
today.
manageable. I don't have to hide things. I don't have to puzzle piece. I don't have to.
Oof. I hated
Right?
living like that.
Oh my God.
I've actually had time in sobriety like that though too.
Well, yeah.
It's fucking chaotic.
Honestly, so did I.
And it sucks even more when you're sober and you're not.
So did I a
escaping.
couple months ago. That's why.
Yeah.
That's kind
No,
of
I relate.
on, like,
we're not perfect.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of what
Catapulted the 8 week
catapulted
ago.
me into like diving into reflecting on myself, a little bit the last few weeks, because even in sobriety a couple months ago, I slipped. I didn't pick up a drink, but I slipped in my emotional growth. I slipped in my let's just say growth, just in my growth. And I always want to keep growing. And so for a couple months, I was sort of just stagnant, and it was reflected in my actions and my thoughts. And oh yeah, it's way worse when you're sober and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? This is why I got sober. So
you're very aware, and the guilt and shame is much greater.
And thank God, because then I was aware, and now I'm like diving into that emotional growth again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you are a Pilates teacher. Did you start your own company?
No. So in the works of that. So I manage fitness studios in Boca, and we just opened in West Palm. We're in Boca. We're opening in South Florida called Sweat 440, and that's a HIIT style studio. But then I teach Pilates and Legree at like 5 different studios.
Okay.
But my goal is I do want to combine managing Sweat 440 is kind of combining my old job with fitness because we're opening new locations. I do want to open something that is focused around wellness, not necessarily fitness, some fitness involved, wellness, self-growth, talks, podcasts, and a safe space. So sort of in like the planning stages of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you have I've seen like clips of what you do with the classes and whatnot. And people are hiring you to go do events. I think it's powerful what you're doing. And I guess we'll lead into how can people get in touch with you if they want?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the best thing about what I'm doing now is I'm helping women. Like I'm helping people and men. I'm helping women and men feel confident, beautiful, fit, get their endorphins higher. And
I want all those things.
Yeah, I will come to class, come to my classes. And it's such a high when I'm teaching, like knowing that I'm helping, knowing the damage I was doing to my mind and body for so long, knowing that I'm now taking care of myself, but also that I'm allowed to pass that on and help people take care of their bodies, their minds, because fitness isn't just physical, it's mental, it's emotional. And knowing that I'm having a positive health impact on other people's days. And I love teaching the events. I mean, oh my God, it's so much fun. And the best way to get in touch with me is Instagram for sure. It's Tomana, LTOMANA.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we will be on the lookout for what you do next.
Can't wait.
It's going to be big. I feel it. It's going to be big.
I know. I feel it too. Next year.
Well, Laura, I want to thank you. I want to thank
so
you
much.
for the vulnerability, just to show someone else out there that it works and to give someone hope.
Thank
Nothing
you
but
so
respect.
much.
Almost congrats on 2 years. By the time this comes out, you'll have 2 years. So,
Amazing. Can't wait.
yeah, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you so much. That was great.